Hello there, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are. It's me, Addison, your favourite friendly furbog, who hangs around the internet and talks about things nerdy on the pod of many things. And today we are starting and we are recording our first ever Command Fest pod of many things, or Command Fest POMT. And I'm joined today by Paradise Bird, and we are going to be talking about the NTG, Magic the Gathering, and Tabletop RPG crossover that seems to continuously happen. And we're going to talk about why Magic the Gathering, of all the card games that are out there, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Duel Masters, if that's still a thing. Oh man, did I just date myself? Why most people seem to gravitate towards Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPGs. But first, let's meet our guest, Bird. Let's talk about you first. How about you introduce yourself, tell us where we can find you on the internet, and then maybe give us a bit of your background in both Magic and tabletop RPGs.
Hi, I'm Bird. So I am on Twitter mostly as @BoltedBird. I'm starting a Twitch stream soon, so look out for that. And I have been playing tabletop RPGs pretty much since I was a little girl. My dad was really big into them, big geek. He got me into them. I have known about Magic my whole life because my dad was in the beta, but I
Ooh.
didn't actually. Oh yeah, oh yeah, he had the good cards. Um, I saw some pretty awesome cards as a little girl. He let me play around with his draft chaff. So I actually my favorite card, Chub Toad, because it has a little rhyme on it. It goes Chub Toad at the door, run away quick or you'll run no more, and I would skip my rope and sing that.
Okay, that's both.
Weirdest kid in the neighborhood.
That is both like adorable and terrifying. Like, it sounds like both a nursery rhyme and a threat of violence. Like,
It is, and that's why I carry a Chub Toad in my wallet at all times.
oh, that's so sweet, and
Yeah.
like that's must have like a personal connection between like you and your dad as well, because
Yeah.
like obviously. So yeah, you've been playing that long. What games do you mainly play then in terms of tabletop RPGs? Because obviously we're talking Commander, and because that's what we're getting into. So what's your game of choice?
So I would probably go 5e because I love dragging new people into TTRPGs. And 5e is a good place to start,
Yeah,
I've
definitely.
found.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great place to start because it's not too complicated, but it's also got enough to keep someone interested.
Yeah.
It's got enough flavor mechanics as well as actual mechanics to keep someone going. So yeah, and you are currently, me and you kind of got talking because you, like myself, are kind of, you like you say, you've always known about Magic the Gathering, but you're starting to get into it like a bit more properly.
Oh yeah.
So how did you get into like Magic the Gathering then, apart from your dad? Like, what's made you go, you know what, I actually want to play this game, actually?
So, funnily enough, it was the Forgotten Realms set. Um, my roommate was doing a draft commander league with some of our friends where you buy a box and you draft a commander pack from it. And he said that he would get me an AFR box and I could play with the D&D cards. And I said, you have yourself a deal. Because I like dragons. Funnily enough, I did not pull a single dragon that was worth anything in that box. But
Oof.
the hope was out there. It was.
You put it out in the universe, and unfortunately, the universe
The
was like, "Fuck no."
universe really went, you thought.
Oh bless. So that is one of the things that we'll probably talk about a bit later in terms of like the combination of like not just Dungeons and Dragons infiltrating Magic the Gathering now in the two sets of Adventures in the Forgotten Realms and Commander Legends Baldur's Gate, but also the fact that a lot of Magic the Gathering settings have D&D like books. So like you've got Ravnica, you've got
Theros,
Theros,
Strixhaven.
Strixhaven. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I was like, it's the Greek one. It's the one that's the
Yeah.
Greek one. But yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of thing about that as well. So let's jump into it there. What is there that attracts someone who plays tabletop RPGs to Magic the Gathering, and what is there in Magic for Magic players to start playing D&D? What is the bridging factor? Because obviously we could talk about those things, and we will talk about them a bit later in forms of the settings and the sets, but and the fact that they're made by the same company, but it wasn't always that way. Like it hasn't always been, from what I believe anyway, it's not always been like
1997 was when Wizards of the Coast bought TSR.
yeah. So and Magic the Gathering's been going since what, 94, 99
I
maybe.
want to say four. I want
Yeah.
to say four.
Because I was like because I always thought it was a lot more modern than it was when I first started getting into it when I was like a late teenager. I got into it when I was like 15, 16. Probably 14, 15, 16. I was like, oh, this is a new thing. And then I was like, oh no, it's been coming out since like as I was born. So yeah, like, what do you think is the main draw for these two groups of people to come together in with these two quite different hobbies?
So I found actually a great quote from Glenn Jones when I was preparing to be on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That says that Magic was created to be played between D&D sessions.
Oh wow, I've
Yeah.
I've not read that, so that's a great idea. Like, let's dive into that.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
And when you think about it, actually, yeah, between D&D sessions, so say like somebody can't make it.
You sit around, play a couple games of Magic, someone's going to be late because someone's always late to your
Yep,
D&D game.
yep. And actually, now that I think about it, when I first got back into tabletop RPGs with the group that I was with, the first thing that they always suggested if we were waiting for somebody was, who wants to crack open like my Magic
Let's
pre-made
crack
decks?
some
Yeah.
packs. Let's play some Magic.
Yeah, let's play some Magic because 20 life points is nothing when you go like, oh, we're not playing forever, so let's just go full aggro, you know. So yeah, like I can imagine that. That's a great thing. I've always thought, and this might be just the nerdy part of me, and like how much I love like both Magic lore and like so early when I was researching this topic, one of the things that interested me was that Magic was once referred to as a role-playing card game because of the fact that you played as planeswalkers. So you as a deck player or a deck owner were a planeswalker, and you were intricately tied to the lore in the fact that you'd ignited your spark and you could go through all these planes, and basically you playing these cards is you summoning things from different realms to come help you. And like I think somebody, when the Planeswalkers first came out, somebody was like, yeah, when you play a Planeswalker, you're basically summoning that Planeswalker for help. Like, they're there to help you because you are also a Planeswalker. And like,
Which is why they can be attacked instead of you.
yeah,
Mechanics like that.
yeah, and it's just like, I was like, oh shit, yeah, the reason why, and this is probably my main reason why I think about it, and also there's the art thing, it's like the fact that you are role-playing as you play in this, like, this weird, almost like organic way. You are battling with another planeswalker in which you have this library, this spell book of cards that you know the spells for. So when it's almost like just like when you play D&D and you want to counter spell, if I want to play Force of Will, like, I have to wait for the right time, I have to declare the action. Like, MTG is TCG RPG, and I was like, oh. And then like I kind of broke for a second and was like, oh my god. So yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons why I thought that like there's a natural thing there is because of the fact that there is that like little role play nugget in there.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was my main reason why I think there's a lot of crossover. There's obviously the art and like the topic as well, like high fantasy. Like, what, what would you do you agree with that like, there's the art style and the high fantasy art style that seems to link with that, like, because even if you look at early Magic cards and early D&D like products, the art style is remarkably similar when you think about it. So like, do you think that's a thing as well, like that recognition?
Oh yeah, I think the subject matter being similar, sort of the spell casting aspects, the magic aspects, the creature aspects, because in D&D you fight monsters, you take down baddies, you cast spells, if you're a spell casting class. But similarly in MTG creatures, casting instants and sorceries. It's of the same cloth, I would say, which is part of why I think that maybe people who play Magic are more prone to D&D other than other TCGs like Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that.
Uh, th- that's a good point that you bring that up, and I want to get into that because like, how do I put this nicely? Fuck it, let's go. Um, like, I don't. Every time like you talk to somebody in the
Mhm.
TTRPG space or the MTG space, they say that they do both things. Whereas if I talk to, and I don't often talk to people who play Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's many traumatic reasons for that. Like that, there's a reason why showering was made a rule in their tournaments. You know what I mean? um, uh, like Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't like Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have that. Pokemon kind of doesn't have that. You'll find that a lot of people who play the Pokemon like card game also want to play like the Pokemon like RPGs, tabletop RPGs that are created like
Mhm.
Pokeroll when that wasn't a cease and desist thing. The D&D 5e like hacks of Pokemon, they kind of want to continue on with the same thing.
Mhm.
So what do you think is the main like reason why those types of people, like people who play Yu-Gi-Oh and people who play Pokemon, don't dive all the way into ta- uh, tabletop RPGs?
So that's a good question. I would makes me almost wonder if there was a Yu-Gi-Oh RPG, if people who play Yu-Gi-Oh would play it.
Mm.
If it's more of a branding thing or if we're going into sort of a creativity aspect because I don't know the most about Yu-Gi-Oh. I try and stay away from it. But I do know that in Magic there is a lot of different strategies, much like in an RPG, how you sort of choose what path you're going to take. You come across a locked door. Do you want to pick the lock? Do you want to break down the door? Do you want to look for a key? In Magic, you can also sort of choose what style of deck you want to solve a problem. There's a big creature on the board. Do I want to steal it? Do I want to kill it? Do I want to deal it damage? It's options and
See,
strategy.
yeah, because that's one of the reasons why I like really fell out of love with Yu-Gi-Oh. Like when I was quite young, was like the very dry, like pool of strategies that were competent because of the fact that obviously in Magic there's like that resource management element as well with mana. Like you,
Right.
I need to make land drops, otherwise I can't do what I want to do. Whereas in Yu-Gi-Oh, things just seem to happen, especially now with like all the crazy like, oh, there's this type of summoning and this type of summoning. Like the last time I played Yu-Gi-Oh, there was you could fuse cards together. That was like the it was you tribute them or you put them together, you fuse them together, and that was like all the resource management there was. I need to get two monsters down to summon this thing, and then I need to play polymerization, make sure I've got polymerization or something at some point to play this card. Now there's like these like XYZ summoning and like Link summoning and like rah, rah, and people win in one turn, and I'm just like I remember going to like playing Magic for a bit and then going back to Yu-Gi-Oh. I was like, dude, how did you do that all on one turn? And I'm like, oh, like,
Resources don't matter as much.
yeah. So like,
Yeah.
do you think that resource management is also a heavy reason why MTG and TTRPG crossover? Because that's a massive part of your like adventuring experience.
Spell slots, yeah. Resource management, understanding I have X rations, I have a one-use healing potion, and I need to wait until someone's critically injured to heal them, or else I'm going to use a healing potion, heal them back up to full, and then let's say they get fireballed and die. Wish
Yeah.
I had a healing potion.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. That is interesting. And I obviously with Wizards of the Coast owning both like um IPs, that's what I'm looking for. I was going to say properties, but IPs, and we do see that crossover that we mentioned earlier. So let's talk about that as well. Let's talk about the crossover and whether or not we think it's successful and whether we think it's something that people want. Because at one point there did seem to be a bit of a like a kickback from D&D players and a bit like, if I see another Magic the Gathering setting, I'm going to go mad. And I was one of these people. Like I think Ravnica came out and I got it and I was a bit like, meh, it's okay. Like it's fine. Like it's fine. Um, it wasn't until like Theros came out and I was like, oh no, some of these are like dope because like, admittedly I hadn't done a lot of like plain research on in Magic. Like my plain knowledge is like Innistrad and Phyrexia, and then I'm like, there's another one that's like, and obviously Ravnica and Strixhaven now, but back then it was like, there's Phyrexia that used to be mirrored in, and then there was Innistrad because Innistrad's dope because it's got werewolves. Like so, yeah. How do you think that crossover of bringing Magic settings into D&D is successful?
So, in unidirectionally, I think making magic sets that are D&D themed was successful, but the reverse, I would argue, has been hit or miss.
Mm.
I read a bit into why they made so damn many of them. And the answer is when they build a plane for Magic the Gathering, they build enough of a world that it sort of becomes a TTRPG setting in and of itself. So
Yeah.
it's not that difficult to change it into an RPG setting, which I appreciate and I understand, but I would argue that some of the settings would be better as different TTRPGs.
Mm.
D&D is a great mechanical system, and it's one that has been used again and again. But I would absolutely love to see some other systems coming to the forefront, you know. Make a Greek god setting instead of spell slots, maybe I don't know, they use blessings from the gods, they
Hmm.
use different things that relate to the setting more, tie it in better.
Yeah. Because I mean, they kind of did do that with Theros, didn't they? They brought in the devotion mechanic, which was something
Yeah.
that that was an MTG thing. Like you devotion to white or devotion to green had been something that was always in Theros, and then they brought it back, and it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like it finally made the gods like mechanically have some forbearance apart from, yo, I'm gonna hit them up and roll my percentile dice and hope that I get a divine intervention, my guy. like
Ooh.
yeah,
I have seen one successful divine intervention.
I've seen two. I think one was my
Mm.
wife and one was me as an NPC by accident. I was like, he's gonna do it because like that's what he would do. Like he's like really scared for these people. He's really scared in this moment, and then I rolled it and I was like, oh no, it worked. What do I do now? Oh no. like
Right.
I've accidentally like saved the pie. That's not what I was meaning. I'm supposed to be like not the adversary, but I'm supposed to be the challenge, and I've just made it like 100 times easier. But yeah,
Right.
so you said about the hit and miss thing, because
Hmm.
obviously you're right. Like they do build enough of a world because they've even went back at some points and made like online PDF versions of former planes. Like they did, Innistrad has a plane chase setting which you can play
Mhm.
in. I've kind of like used bits of it, but it's not as developed as say like Theros and Strixhaven. So what do you think of the hit and miss parts of bringing MTG to D&D?
So again, like you said, I like it when they take the MTG mechanics and they sort of build them into their world, which is sort of where I was going with the different TTRPGs. I want to see more of those magic mechanics as role-playing aspects.
That because you've got a cool thing there with like Phyrexian mana. You
Yeah.
could have a cool TTRPG which is like maybe like running away from obviously being converted by the Phyrexians and like
You
or
pay health to cast
yeah,
spells.
you pay half to cast
Yeah.
spells, and like eventually, if you use all your health to cast spells, you do become a Phyrexian. Like you are completed and converted. Like
Ooh.
that'd be dope because like that's kind of what happened to Timeo, if that's her name. I can't say it. That's what she like basically ran out of magic and was like and then got caught. Um, and then like there's other things as well. So I think you could do a good Werewolf the Apocalypse game in
Mm.
Estrad. Got
Oh.
uh Eldraine would be good for something like Pendragon because obviously it's like, and then yeah, we've recently had Aegon release, which would be good for Theros. So maybe like looking at working with other TTRPG companies. And I know that sounds crazy because obviously you want to make the most money for you, but like how what like a lot of people criticize Wizards for a lot of things,
Rightfully so.
rightfully so. Sometimes I would say that they don't help themselves either because they don't ever they if they just offered a handout, like people would start going like maybe they aren't this evil overlord that we all think they are, like
Yeah.
um and yeah, so it does seem strange to me. We out of the out so we've had Avravnica, Theros, Strixhaven. What's the other? There's another one, isn't there? I'm now looking on my D&D Beyond account to see if I've missed one out. I feel like I've
I
missed one
feel
out.
like you are. Was it Innistrad?
No, Innistrad's a plane chase. That's the one where you yeah. So Voiles, Mordenkainen's Water Deep is always been a thing. Like Eberron,
Waterdeep has been a
it's TNTRPG
TTRPG
thing.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's because of the fact that they've just added Baldur's Gate, and in the Adventures in Forgotten Realms it mentions like
Mhm.
Waterdeep, doesn't it? Eberron is always been a TTRPG thing. Avernus. Maybe I just want there to be more. I don't know.
Maybe we're just losing it.
Yeah, maybe we've done. It wouldn't be the first time. So yeah, Journey for the Radiant, the Vecna dossier. No, nope. Well, you know what? We've got three. So if you had to like rank the settings for MTG in TTRPGs, what what would you put them at? Like, which one's your favorite, and why is it your favorite? And then which one do you not like, and why is that?
I gotta go with Theros. Very cool. I liked what they did with Devotion. Strixhaven and Ravnica were just toss-ups for me. I feel like they didn't build enough of the world
Hmm.
mechanically that you could interact with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like with Strixhaven they just went, "Yo, Harry Potter, go," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
We
Yeah,
exactly.
and then they're like, "Oh,
Haha.
yeah. Oh, by the way, everybody's some sort of like caster, and by the way,
Mhm.
if you're this type of caster, you're gonna go here." Rah, rah, rah. Like they can't. They did that. They did they try because I always find it funny that with Strixhaven they tried to rename the color combinations. So like they tried to call Simics Quandrix, and everybody just went, ah, so I'm
Everyone, no.
yeah.
Counterspell.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm part of the Simic group. Okay, got you. Like oh, like I'm Akaros or whatever. Cool. all right, I'm off. Yeah. So I found that quite funny. But yeah, like I would probably go Feros as well because I feel like Feros not only had that cool devotion mechanic, but it played on something that everybody knew like ridiculously well in terms of like
Oh
Greek
yeah.
myths, and like that world was alive. Like when you did things because of like devotion and stuff, like and like the legend system, or I can't remember what it was called, but there's like that thing where like legends spread and stuff like that because of your deeds, like your yeah, that breathed and like changed around you, which was dope. Whereas I feel
Yeah.
like Strixhaven is kind of like Strixhaven would be probably second, like because it's a bit like it's cool, like it's a cool concept of having like this plane that is literally like everybody from every plane is trying to go there because they want to learn from the best. Rah rah rah. I'm playing in a game of that soon. My friend recently had a module published on DM's Guild, and there's like
Oh, that's exciting.
I think they're gonna try and angle for it to be Adventurers League legal as a one shot, which is pretty dope.
That
So
is awesome.
and it's like so yeah they're I like that, but like with Ravnica I was just a bit like I don't know why this is here. Like I don't like oh some of these races are cool.
You
Cool.
know what I would love to see is a TTRPG though, maybe not D&D. New Capenna.
Oh,
Give me the mobster themed TTRPG.
New Capenna would be dope with like there is a TTRPG called Blades in the Dark. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Was that the one based on Nemesis?
No, so
Okay.
Blades in the Dark is like you've got to think of it as very like heist filmy, because instead of you rolling for everything in the moment, you do obviously roll for things in the moment, but a lot of things are done via flashback. So you call for things in flashback. So you go, I want to flashback now, and I'm going to set up that this guard is a friend of mine, and it can be like as far back as like when you were a kid or when you were born to like 5 minutes ago. So 5 minutes ago, when I stopped to tie my shoelace, I planted a bomb under this like thing, and it's gonna go off if I don't walk out the door. Okay, roll for it, and yeah, that would, and it's very much like criminal-esque, and like you can your gang grows and stuff like that. So I think that would be good for New Capenna, because I do think that like I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't give a shit about Kamigawa. Like when that came out, I was just like, I don't really care. Like the dragons are kind of cool, like in certain decks, but then you just kind of like meh. Like there were some good commanders, and we'll talk about commander in a minute. But like but I was just a bit like, I really could not care about high tech samurais. I've watched anime since I was like 11. Like I've seen it done. Whereas like the Art Deco like brawlers that were like devils, so I was like, oh no, that's dope. That's actually so dope.
Gimme.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and like the trash panda, the trash panda, like legendary cards were just there, like, yo, we're raccoons, but also
Or
gangsters.
raccoons and we
Yeah,
steal.
I'm a raccoon with a Tommy gun. What you gonna do, angel, uh, angel girl? But yeah, so and yeah, like you said earlier, there was. I think that both sets of D&D cards have been pretty cool for
Hmm.
Magic. I am gonna say that Baldur's Gate, not through any fault of its own, was hampered by like the Wizards deciding that Magic needed to get more expensive. Like,
I can agree with that.
like, but I play Magic Arena a lot, and I just like sit and farm like packs like free leveling up because I play like all the time. So like,
Right.
so I'm like, I've pretty much seen the whole set now. I'm just kind of like,
Mhm.
oh, it's pretty dope. There's a lot of reprints from Adventures in Forgotten Realms, but there's also quite a lot of new cards. Like you got a lot of. I think one of the things that I really liked about how Magic brought in the D&D people is because they brought in the D&D people. Like they brought in like you met Durnan from the Yawning Portal is in one of the Commander precons. Like Driss Duerden was in Adventures of Forgotten Realms as a That's a really strong fucking commander. Like, I hate coming up against him in Brawl. Who else was there? They brought in Minsk and Boo, who will forever be my favourites ever. Like,
Minsk and Boo was my first commander.
man.
Very first commander was Minsk.
He's so. I love him. I love everything about him. I love the fact that like his best friend is this hamster, and like they even
And he gets
because yeah, and like the mechanical thing of the fact that like, oh, I'm on the field, so so Boo must be here too, is like the best thing ever. I'm just there like, what? You just create hamster tokens for just being around? This is great. Like, it was. I actually was so happy when they brought it in. Do you think that's one of the things why that's so successful for Magic though? Is because with Magic you can't really bring like the planeswalkers and stuff into TTRPGs because they're too powerful. Like your party are gonna go kill them straight away. Like I want all their shit. Whereas
oh yeah.
with Magic the Gathering, it's cool to bring in the D&D lore characters because of the fact that they have funny mechanics, and they everybody can have a go on them. Do you think that's the thing?
I would say that is one of the things. I also one of the bigger things I think is probably the fact that TTRPGs attract a certain type of creative, open, world-building communal player, and strategy players, whereas Magic the Gathering is mostly a strategy game. So some people who really enjoy the social aspect of D&D might not as much enjoy the aspects of Magic the Gathering that are rules based. You
Yeah.
know how some people in D&D they'll go, I want to do this really cool out of the box thing. You can't really do that as much in Magic because, there's a set rule.
Yeah.
Um Second point, the price.
Yeah.
Magic is spendy.
But is it is it as spendy as getting your D&D books and everything?
You can I'm not condoning it, but if you rip a PDF offline, that's free.
Proxying is technically also a lot cheaper, but I do get your point. Like,
Hmm.
Magic does get spendy. Like, I wanted to get into Commander, so I was looking at Commander precons, obviously, because like, why would I'm not gonna go and try and buy singles to on my first go round the sun.
Right.
Yeah, and like I was just like, what? Why? What's that? Like, what? Why am I being told that these are like? And so I did manage to get it for like really cheap. I think somebody had like an excess, so they were selling them off for like £25, and like they're usually 40. And so I was like, I'll take that. But yeah, no, it is as we would call it in the UK, spenny. That's a lot of money. And yeah, people might go, well, just buy singles. It turns out cheaper. It turns out cheaper in the long run, but like you've got to find them and like just yeah, it's just I bought my Volo Commander, which is the deck I really want to build because I just like and I've realised that I have a thing for cloning things, because I'm also playing the on Magic Arena anyway, because I don't have the card in person, but I also have the dragon that clones dragons that you put down. I'm just like, oh no, I just like cloning things all the time. I'm a bad person. Like, so yeah, yeah, it does get expensive, but and yeah, D&D has free materials. Like it does have free rules. You can basic stuff, and for a group of people you could get by one person having like the books, couldn't you? Really?
Right.
Like,
Everyone puts down $20 and you have the books. You can
yeah,
keep making adventures, but for Magic, everyone has to spend $70, $80 realistically for a deck. And that's low for some formats.
oh yeah, no, like I I used to play modern more often, and like
Bendy.
spendy. Like I've got a modern werewolf deck that has and I still don't have the whole thing because there's just one card I refuse to buy out of principle because of the price. It's like, no, I'm not paying.
Fun.
It's a Huntmaster of the Fells. Like, Huntmaster of the Fells is like a legendary werewolf that, like,
Mhm.
if you played old werewolves, you kind of had to have him in your deck. But like, he's not even that good a card. They're like, yo, he is for like £30. I'm like, no, fuck off. Like,
Buy a playset for
yeah,
120.
yeah, like, no, thank you, I'm good. Like, I'd only need one of him in this deck apparently. Like, I'm cool. Like, so yeah, I just and like I've done the new generation werewolves with the day and night mechanic, and that was kind of like, admittedly, it wasn't that expensive. I will say, like, it ended up only being about, I would say, all in about £50 because I managed to get some really good prices on stuff.
Mhm.
And then I even bought more cards than I meant to because of the fact that, like, I discovered that there were werewolves that weren't on my deck list or I hadn't encountered yet that were good for the deck. So like Howpack Piper, for example. I was like, yo, why have I not got this thing that allows me to put creatures onto the battlefield, which then makes it so it doesn't count towards casting, and therefore I can then transform my werewolves next turn? What am I doing? Like, so yeah, I can get behind like the price thing for
Right.
MTG and I also think you bring up a good point with the social aspect as well of like Magic, because Magic is naturally combative, like it is competitive, like, and people can be annoying, like when you play Magic with them, like, that's not what that card does. No, trust me, it does, or I would have done it this way. And you get that in D&D as well, but I feel like one of the cool things about the D&D sets that got people from D&D into Magic was like the Easter egg hunting for, like,
Mhm.
I know this card because I've probably talked to this person like in one of
Right.
my games. This reminds me of, and you tell that story where
Mhm.
around as you're playing, and I think that's a really cool aspect to bring that like social dynamic to Magic, because like I think one of the best ones I had was like the Xanathar thing, and like I always point out the fact that some of my Magic friends hadn't played D&D. I was like, oh yeah, by the way, that dude's like a crime boss, and they're like, okay, and I'm like, oh, and his goldfish like dies regularly, and they have to like replace it, otherwise he's going to kill everybody. And I was like, what? And then I'm like, yeah, there's like a, is it in Dungeon of the Mad Mage? It's like one of the, or Dragon Heist. That's like one of the actual things. Is like trying to replace Xanathar's goldfish is like a side quest suggestion. Like, you are rogues. I made like a whole one shot out of it for my school D&D club. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, you work for this beholder guy, and his pet goldfish has died, and you can't let him know that. Um,
You
so
gotta sneak a new one in.
you got to sneak a new one and get rid of the body and not get caught. Otherwise, he's going to disintegrate you. Have fun. Like, I think the way they did it was actually quite funny.
Hmm.
They pretended to take him to the cleric. Like, they were like, "Oh, we need to take him to the vet," and they pretended they were taking him to a cleric, and it was just a few of them had played like gnomes and stuff. So it was the cleric was like three of them in one suit of like giant armor, and like, we are the
Three,
cleric.
three gnomes in a trench coat.
Pretty much, they're like, and I've never told them that story, so I was just like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you you have the instincts. So
Hmm.
so we Magic the Gathering and TTRPGs do have like a massive crossover. It doesn't say
Hmm.
that every Magic player, like I said, some of my friends didn't. It was actually the minority of them. It was like two of them. And I'm like the rest of me and my friend like, oh, Xanathar's cool. This character's cool. And like, oh, I just like the effect. That's pretty dope. It fits with my elves. Thank you. Um, so let's talk about Commander then, as it is the command fest of the pot of many things. Let's talk about Commander. Let's talk about what you're running, what you're doing. If it's D&D related, so let's talk about who's your commander at the moment. Who's your go-to commander?
Oh man, that is rough. I am trying to build a Ginny Fey deck.
Nice. Cats and dogs,
Yeah,
we like that.
cats and dogs, but mostly cats.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Uh,
Can't fight it too hasty.
no, I can't beat that. And then so cats are pretty dope.
Mm.
What's your You say you're trying to build that. So is there like a thing with that at the minute? Are you struggling to find certain cards or something?
No, it's mostly just that I'm very easily distracted and I forget.
Oh, I did that as
I
well. Don't
I
worry.
have a Moxfield list for it, but every time I'm in a game store, I'm like, ooh, look at this. Oh, look at that. And I forget to place an order for the cards I need.
I've done pretty much the exact same thing for my Volo Commander deck because I'm like I bought some of the cards. So I bought like Volo, Spark Double, Mirror Image, basically built all the shapeshifters and all the things like we're copying everything, boys. And then I just went because I think I watched a YouTube channel called Tolarian Community College,
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
and he did his Tovalar deck tech. And then I realized I had most of the cards for it, and I was like, I can put this together. And I love werewolves; they're like my favorite thing. And then I'm like, and then like Volo's just there in his sleeve, like looking at me every time I like open my box. Like, are you ever gonna finish me? I'm like, your time will come. I promise. Like your time will come. So yeah. So
I
what?
may or,
Oh, you go first. Sorry.
oh, I may or may not have two cards for a commander deck in my wallet that I picked up and simply have not taken out.
What are they?
I could not tell you is the worst part.
Oh no. All right. I think I've got a couple on the way because I managed to get like 3 cards for £2. Like, because they're all from the same seller on eBay. So I was just like, yo, I'll take all three of them off your hands if you just give me 'em all three for like £2. It's like, yeah, go on then. I'm like, yes. So like, that is Child of the Pack and Savage Packmate. So I can give everything +1 +0. Um, the Mana Werewolf that gives you mana. Weaver of Blossoms, and then what's the other one? What's the other one? But yeah, so I'm currently in like I've got a foil Tovalar coming as well. Because apart from my Volo, because I don't like one thing I will say about the Dungeons and Dragons sets. So you know every set has like a showcase set, like of the
Oh yeah.
cards that look dope. I
Hmm.
hate the Dungeons and Dragons ones.
You hate them?
I hate them. I don't like them. I know it's controversial. I know, but like the art for the actual cards is so good. Like for
Hmm.
the normal cards is so good. So then to just turn them beige like rubs me up the wrong way. Like the Volo art is so good. He's like there, beard in all its glory, looking up at the behold the head of something in the background, and you get the showcase version. It's just him beige stood there on like a plain background. I'm like, I get what you're going for. You're trying to do the whole this is what the monster manual used to look like thing, but like you compare it to say like Midnight Hunt because like, with the cool like vine effect,
Hmm.
the Art Deco of New Capenna, the machine of like Neon Dynasty, like those are all dope. And then you get the Dungeons and Dragons sets, you're like, meh, it's beige. Like it's like the most anti exciting color. Like,
My dad loves them. I got him all of the old school monsters from AFR in foiled out alt arts for his birthday, and
oh,
he has them on the walls of his game room.
that's so. But that's cute, isn't it? Because of the fact that he loves that, and he's like, yo, this reminds me of a time. Whereas I'm like, they're like, I want my deck to look dope, like as I play it down. So I'm now having to look for Volo as the promo card from the pre-release box
Right.
because that's the only way you can get him in foil. And I'm like, oh
Hmm.
no, Spenny, it's about to get expensive if I'm looking for that. But yeah, no, that's so why Commander then? Because you're saying that some formats are expensive. Well, most formats are expensive. Let's be honest. But like, why have you chosen Commander as your format? Why not? Obviously, I'm guessing the reason you're not playing Standard is because rotation sucks. Like, yeah, fuck rotation.
Oh yeah.
But like, what? Why not like say Modern or Pioneer or even? I'm gonna say Pauper because apparently that's
Upper.
a thing.
Um, so I like Commander for a couple of reasons. The biggest one is the social aspect of it.
Hmm.
Commander is a pot of four, and you sit around, you have a couple drinks, and you chat while you play.
Mm,
It's also, I've found to be a little less try-hardy than some of the other formats.
mm.
In certain situations, I have a local game store where I'm from that has a commander night, and it's just the chillest people, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone plays weird decks and has a great time.
Mm.
It's silly, and that's why I like it.
And it's that's kind of like when you think about it, when you look at like Commander and tabletop RPGs, it's a group of you. You talk whilst you do it, like sometimes
Yeah.
about what you're doing, and sometimes
And some
just to, you know.
Mhm.
So I feel like Commander is also like encapsulates that like tabletop RPG feel as well because of the fact that I feel like you do a lot of discovery in Commander. From what I've watched, like you discover a lot of cards because obviously you can only have one of every card.
Oh yeah.
Like so you discover a lot of new cards. So like people just reach across and like grab people's cards and look at them and be like, I never knew this existed, and then give it
What
back.
set is this from? Hold on. This is broken.
Yeah. And then you've got and yeah, you'll. It's kind of like when you go, how did you do? Or you go, what? When you see a class do something in a TTRPG,
Mhm.
and you're like, huh? How comes you can? And then they like show you their character sheet, and they're like, well, I've got this, this, and this. Like, how do you get pull that off? Oh well, I've got these magical items. It's that cool like so more social aspect of it, and that's one of the reasons why I want to get into Commander because I've done modern. I tried to keep up with standard, but I couldn't. Like, I felt I'd fall out of love with the game because I realised that the rotation was coming. I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to do this because like
Mm-mm.
half my deck's about to go out. Like, and I don't want to start again. Like, and they're like, you'll just find the same cards in a new set, but you won't know, will you? Like, and then,
No.
like, let's be honest, even when you go back to the same planes in so like for example I'm always going to bring up Innistrad. I'm a massive Innistrad fanboy. Like they've never reprinted Huntmaster of the Fells ever, and that was like in the first Innistrad set. Like not even like Dark Awakening or anything. Like it was like here's first Innistrad, here's Huntmaster of the Fells. Like cool. We
Now you'll never see him
yeah,
again.
yeah, like most of the like oh Arlen's still about in the Planeswalker. Oh, we're just gonna make a new one of her that's better. Don't get me wrong, but like, but I want the old one as well because she's got that cool mechanic where she just transforms because you use a loyalty ability. So you're like, oh, cool. I don't have to wait for her to like go nightbound or whatever. Um, because that was one of the cool. That is one of the cool things about old school werewolves is you could have humans and werewolves at the same time. So some like in very rare circumstances, it was better to have cards on the human side. So you're like, right, here's all my werewolves, and then here's just the one human werewolf who's going to stay there. But then on
Because he has a special activated ability.
exactly, whereas now it's like, oh, it's nighttime now, so all your werewolves are a thing. I'm like, oh shit, like I now can't Howpack Piper and put things on the board. I just get that weird thing where every time it attacks, I get to grab a card and put it in my hand, which isn't as good as putting it on the field. Like for 2 mana, like no matter what creature it is, I can get Hollowhenge out, like Hollowhenge Huntmaster out almost instantly every game if I can just get Howpack to go off. So yeah, it's funny. What so going back to our command talk, um, you're making a Jinafei deck. You said that
Naya tokens.
yeah, tokens. You're trying to get your first commander was Minsk and Boo. Is that like a borrowed deck or?
It was the deck I built out of a box
Mm,
of Forgotten Realms.
nice. So
So it was a little jank and not very powerful, but it was fun.
no, I can imagine that was fun because is that would have been him as a creature, wouldn't it? Not him as a
Oh
planeswalker.
yeah,
And
him as a creature.
and him as a creature is pretty fun. Like I will admit, like
Mhm.
having him as a creature. I think if I'm right, which I believe I am because I've done it on Brawling thing and Brawling uh and although they try and say that Brawl's not Commander, it basically is. Like you can have both uh Minsk Planeswalker and Minx Creature in your Commander deck. And they interact with each other in a really funny way because obviously they both make hamster tokens and then you've got like the hamster like effects that they have, so you're like, oh, I just now have an army of hamsters, cool.
My hamster army will take over the world.
Boo 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 boo. Like I swing with all the boos. But yeah, so what's the funniest like or the weirdest like commander you've ever come across, or is there a commander you hate or anything like that?
So my friend has a companion commanders that he calls Coin Flip Tribal. It is a deck he's built around the premise of chance.
Oh god. I
Um,
already hate it. Like I already
the
hate
two,
it.
the two commanders, I cannot remember their names for the life of me, but it's the one where at the start of your combat phase, flip a coin until you lose. His power doubles for every flip you win, and the one where it's draw a card for every flip you win.
Oh god.
Um, and then you get Krark's Thumb on the board, and there's also a possibility storm in that deck. It's
Is that the one way if you flip the coin it makes it double, does it double the source? There's because there's a coin flip card where you double the sorcery or something or the instant spell that you cast, but if you lose it doesn't go off at all. It's like this. I can't remember. I remember
I
seeing that
don't
on
think
I
it's that
hate
one.
your is it I hate your deck or something like that. I saw somebody play it though. And I was like, that sounds so dumb. I think it was Kyle Hill played it. Like, why are you doing this, Kyle? Stuff. Like, but yeah.
I love playing Coin Flip Tribal though, because it's just the goofiest thing, you know? I enter my combat phase, I flip a coin, I lose. Oh well, I flip a coin, I win 10 times. I now have a thousand creature. I fling him at your face. Game over.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's weird. It's funny.
Yeah, they do have like the potential to go out of control, but as soon as you were to pilot that deck, it would not work at all. But as soon as somebody plays it against you, like, what the hell? What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? I've got 100 monster coming at my face. Stop! No.
Eh, It's just I like weird decks. I like decks that sort of prioritize flavor and fun over competition. I'm not really a big fan of CEDH because it feels like it's just EDH trying to do what all the other formats do, which is an arms race and a meta.
Oh yeah, totally. That's one of the reasons why I really like playing Volo. It's because I like it when it goes off, but I also know it has the potential to like completely backfire if, like, say someone's just got tons of removal. I know
Oh yeah.
as soon as I play a black deck against a black deck, I'm like, I'm not ever getting Volo out because the first thing they'll do is just like play all the cards to get rid of him and hate him.
Murder.
Murder, power word, kill,
Murder.
a bread.
Black cards have some of the hardest names in Magic.
Yeah. Um, if I play blue, like I'm usually there, like, oh, so he's just gonna keep getting bounced to my hand. Cool,
Mhm.
that's fun. But yeah, no. So yeah, you just have to. That's one of the reasons I really like Volo, because of the fact you just either watch everything go out of control, and even you're like, I don't know what's going on anymore. Because I also found out the other day that with Volo, and if you have Errant Street Artist on the board, when Volo clones a card, you can tap Errant Street Artist and pay 2 blue mana, or blue and one, and you clone the clone, so you end up copying the same card 3 times. I had Titan of Industry. I had 3 Titans of Industry on the board by complete accident,
Disgusting.
like by complete accident as well, because I just noticed that it kept pausing in like on Magic Online. I was like, why does it keep pausing
Uh,
every time I copy a card? Because usually it just goes and resolves them all, and then
mhm.
it's like, oh, because he's glowing, and I clicked on him and made him go, and then it just went choose a spell. I'm like, what? No way. And then I did it with Undercover Operative and I had 6 Titans of Industry at the end. And I was like, yes, this is life. Like,
Obscene. I'm sure your opponent was sitting there like,
I still need to find out. I don't know how it happened, but I need to find out how I got 3 copies of Ob Nixilis the Nemesis on the board. Like,
well, he has his casualty cost
but
that
how would
copies
you
him.
had 3? How did I have 3? This is what I'm saying. Like,
Does
because
street artists copy creatures or cards?
it's creatures, I think. It's creatures you haven't cast this turn, or it might be cards. So yeah, or but I wouldn't play Street Artist in that Ob Nixilis deck because that's my Jund deck. That's my punchy Jund deck with like Jaxis and Professional Facebreaker, which I my friends my friends called my punchy lesbian deck because it's just like a lot of like fist fighting women. Apparently I have a type. Like I was just like, oh, I didn't realize that, and then Ob's just in there like, okay, fine. But yeah, I just had 3 of him on the board, and they were like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, I don't know how this happened, but it must have happened because the computer didn't break." Like, we were just playing like match made games, and I was like, the computer didn't break, so it must have been a thing. What I think I did is I think I played the casualty ability, and then
Hmm.
either they countered the initial play, so I didn't have to choose between the 2 obs that were actual characters because obviously legend rule would apply,
Mm-hmm.
or when I when I got asked to choose between legendary cards, I just picked one, or just went auto resolve or auto do, and it just went, yeah, we'll get rid of this one. And now you have 3. And I was just like, this is insane. Why have I got so many? And then, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it just ended up being like the funniest thing ever because my friend was just there like, you just keep making demons and then making me discard cards.
Three up next. I played against in Streets of New Capenna draft someone who drafted 2 Ob Nixilises
Hmm.
and 3 tutors.
Oh,
It was a little obscene.
I think my one's the is it what's her name? Is it Elspeth and her? Was it, yeah, Elspeth and her? You can get her sword. Like I
Hmm.
played against someone who had like 3 copies of each. I'm just like,
That's ridiculous.
what's the point? Why am I playing now? Like, this is boring now because you just keep playing her. And um, is there a particular tribe that you wish you could play, or a tribe that you wish would fuck off? Because I've got mine. I know which tribe I'm like, please go away. Like, you get too much support. It's not fair anymore.
So I played against 2 goblin decks in the same pod, and that was kind of awful.
Oh no!
I kind of wanted to die before I died.
Was one of them playing Krenko as well?
We were both playing Krinko.
Oh no! What an awful time
Double
to be alive.
Krinko. It was double Krenko and then I think some blue control deck. And then me playing my green Stompy Boys.
That's usually my way of doing things. I'm like, right, I want big creatures. My favorite card when I first started playing, I think it was called Stampede, because it literally just gave everything trample and like +4.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Plus 4, I think.
it's +4/+4 trample. I'm just
Yeah.
like, we're playing Stampede, boys. We're ending the game now. Like, but yeah, no, because that was on MTG on the. This is going to date me again. I've mentioned Duel Masters, which makes me so old. And I was going to say on the Xbox 360, there was it Duel of the Planeswalkers? where you could play like Commander online, like, but you just played it with standard decks. Obviously, you could also play Arch Enemy, which was cool. You played against like computer Nico Bolas with like 100 health, and you're like, Jesus H Christ, I can't win. Um, but yeah, no, those were good times. But yeah, my one's Angels. I hate playing against Angels. I think Angels get far too much support, and it's not fair. Like everything they do, every time they release a new pack, there's like a new Angel in there that's ridiculous. Oh, you have Serra Angel. Oh, that's cool. We've also got Gladiator here, and we've got the one that does lifelink, and if it has, you have 7 health more than anybody else. Like, it can like just kill somebody because that's what happens apparently. And oh look, this one, every time another one comes in the game, because you've got one that makes them cost less, gets 1/1 counters. It's just like, what? Like, and then you're just over here playing any other tribe apart from goblins, and you're like, yo, I don't get this much support, leave me alone. like,
So
like
I would argue that Angels is really powerful, but if you can counter it and control it early, their deck sort of fizzles.
I would say, yeah,
Because
that's a good point.
Angels relies on a lot of synergy between angels. So if you see someone playing angels, you just like remove your angel, remove your angel, remove your angel, and they can't do much. Mono
Yeah.
white isn't the most flexible color.
No, that's why they often pair it up with something, isn't it? Most
Please
Angels.
stop, son. I'm
It's
sorry. He's knocking everything off my desk in the background.
it's okay. He's wearing the cone, so I can imagine he's frustrated as fuck.
He got his neutering appointment this Wednesday,
Oh
so
no. Oh no.
he's an angry baby.
Oh no. But yeah, no. Our angels are like my one. We're if we had to say right, this tribe goes in the bin. Angels and goblins for us. I get you.
And goblins all the way. I'd never want to see another Krenko deck in my life.
I do feel like Krenko's like the one when it comes to like, as soon as you see that as a commander, you're just like, oh my god, like, because Dockside Extortionist is also coming out at some point, and you're like, why is this my life? Like, but yeah, no, but yeah, I think we've went over everything. Is there anything that you're like, oh, is there anything you've wanted to ask or anything you've wanted to talk about when it comes to like MTG and TTRPG crossover or Commander?
I'm golden.
Cool. I will say that my 2 decks at the minute, I need someone to show me how Moxfield works because I haven't set it up yet. Again, I'm new to Commander, and just being a bit more organized in MTG in general. Like, I usually just dip in, build a deck, leave. Like, oh well, we're off in Innistrad now. Bye. I'll come back when they're back. Like, it's been fun, my G's. And then
Let me know when there are werewolves again.
yeah, like, let me know when I can flip cards, because it's flip cards as well. Because I love the flip walkers, like the flip planeswalkers. I've got a Jace Vryn's Prodigy that I'm just like, I've never been able to play it because it's never belonged in a deck, but I have it, and I'm just there like, you're so cool. Like, you're just so cool. I just like flipping cards over, because one of my friends as well is like really, really anal about the fact that I actually take the cards out of the sleeves and flip them. He's like, why don't you have 2? I'm like,
Why would you?
why? Because he's like, why didn't you just
But
have one that's
it's
transformed? I'm like, because now you're just over handling the card. I'm like, they're mine. I'm not selling these ones. Like I might sell these ones that are all sleeved up and ready to go if I need to, but like, these ones are mine and I'm keeping them, and they're going to be played, my friend. But yeah, I just like flipping cards onto their faces and transforming them and watching people go, oh, I should have done something about that earlier. But yeah, Bird, thank you so much for coming on. We'll sign off in a minute, but if you want to tell everybody where they can find you on the internet, and if you're thinking of starting any pods or anything.
Well, I am at Bolted Word on Twitter, and I don't have any other social media yet because I didn't expect to be this popular on Twitter.
Ah, well, you're funny, and we enjoy your takes and your
Thank you.
interactions with people. Thank you very much for coming on. Obviously, I'm Addison, your favourite friendly furbog who hangs around the internet talking about all things nerdy, and I will be getting more into Magic the Gathering and Commander as we go through, and hopefully as this Command Fest progresses and we get more and more episodes in our belt, we can do some streams of some spell table and stuff at some point, and hopefully Bird might be there if we can organise it a bit effectively. But yeah, in terms of everything else, thank you so much, Bird, for coming on and being here and
Absolutely.
doing this, and pardon me, helping me ease into this Command Fest, because I started off as a TTRPG
Hmm.
person with my friend, and then it was me on my own. I've started branching out into more nerdy things, and now I want to get into Commander, and the Commander like sphere. It's like so friendly, aren't they? Like that's one of the things I love about the sphere as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the commander like pod on is just so helpful, and like they'll give you card recommendations and stuff. It's quite a welcome break from TTRPG Twitter, I will admit, because TTRPG Twitter decides every month or so to set itself on fire. Like, I'm like, okay, cool, like go on then, like fight, I guess. Like, I don't. What's the fight over this time? Like, but yeah, no, it's been really good, and it's been really good meeting you. And for
Mhm.
you out there who are watching, as always, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. And I hope that you're having some great games of Magic with your friends. Peace. Bye.